Okay, so I've got my automation system. My lead should be falling from the sky now, right? Well, maybe, but you have to set up your campaigns first. Let's take a look at how you can use automation to help you actually generate leads. Hey everyone, I'm Ian Campbell. I'm CEO of Mission Suite. Before we jump into today's video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you're notified anytime that we post new videos. So as you may know by now, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been working on some sort of sales and marketing automation platform for longer than I can remember. And one of the things that I've learned in that time is that sales automation is a great way to help you find really high quality leads that are interested in a conversation. It's a bit of a nuanced distinction though, because most people hear sales automation and leads together and their mind instantly starts thinking about quantity, not quality. And another thing that I've learned in all this time is that the quality of the leads that you're creating and pursuing is significantly more important than the quantity of the leads that you're finding. Okay, so let's redefine the question. How can sales automation help you find more quality leads? Well, that's something that we can dive into. First, let's talk about finding diamonds in the rough. Now, no matter how early you are in your business, you do actually have a list that you can work with as a starting point. It's probably pretty rough and not very clean, but at least it's something that you can get to start with. Fortunately, you have your automation system in place, so that can help you find the people in your list, however small it may be, that you'll be able to actually talk to and hopefully even sell to. But how can you do this? Well, again, we have to start with your list of connections. If you're new, you can use the connections in your LinkedIn account as a starting point, depending on your business. Maybe it's the email addresses of friends and family that you want to reach out to. If you've been around for a while, chances are you're working with a bit of a list already, so you already know who you're starting with. And the same concept that I'm about to go through applies to you as well, because you haven't been reaching out to those people, then they may as well have never heard of you in the first place. Now, don't worry. We're not going to spam these people. We're not going to beg them for business. They're not going to get annoyed by you. All we're going to do is send off an email letting people know what you're doing and ask them if they want to follow your journey in their inboxes. If you do something like this and send off that email as a starting point, I always recommend making the option to unsubscribe as prominent as possible without it being absurd. In this first email, you want to make it really simple for people to opt out if they don't want to get emails. And if they don't opt out and they know you're going to start sending them emails, then you have kind of an implicit approval to continue to do so. Of course, you can get even more strict with this and ask people who are interested to opt into your list instead of the other way around as well. But either way, after that first email has gone out, you'll end up with a smaller list of people who want to keep hearing from you. Continuing this diamond in the rough analogy, this tells you where the diamond mine is that you're going to be exploring. Now it's your job to keep digging and actually find those diamonds. So next, you're going to send out an email that's a bit more specific to what you're doing and how you do it. The goal of creating that first email is to create a modicum of interest in what you're doing, right? Just get to pique people's interest. Now you want them to get interest in what it looks like to work with you. And when you send that email, tell people more details about what you're doing. Tell them what makes you unique and really drive home your unique value proposition. Don't be boisterous about it, but don't worry too much about bragging. It might be a fine line, but really, realistically, it shouldn't be that tough to find for most people. You'll probably lose some more people from your list after this, and remember, that's okay. You only want to be sending emails to people who really want to hear from you about what you're doing. So someone who unsubscribes is actually just as valuable as someone who doesn't. It's helping you narrow your target. And finally, send out something that would really pique the interest of your ideal client. Some sort of downloadable PDF or something like that typically works pretty well. The reason this works is because this type of thing usually excludes people who wouldn't be a good target for you. Now, of course, if your mom is on that list, then she's probably going to click on everything regardless, but I'm assuming you know that you can probably rule her out anyway. After this email goes out again, you'll probably lose some people from your list, but more importantly, you'll be able to see who's actually downloaded the content that you offered up, and once you know that, you get to start making a few calls and setting up a few meetings. And of course, this can all be automated in your automation system so that all you need to do is click start and let the campaign run until it tells you who that you need to make a phone call to. So another way that people use sales automation for lead gen is by keeping your list clean. Email marketing is still a huge marketing channel. People keep trying to call it dead, but it's just not. And frankly, it's not going to die. But that said, it's getting more and more challenging, and that's because those email providers are cracking down more and more on marketers who send emails to people who just aren't engaging with their content. If you consistently send emails to loads of people who never open those emails, then Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, etc., they're just going to stop letting your emails get through to their clients. And when that happens, it's not even going to get to the spam folder. It just won't get through. Again, this digs into the quality over quantity conversation. With email especially, it's going to be hugely more important to maintain a quality list than it is to have a massive list that never engages. Just remember, if they don't even open an email from you in 90 days, then they're just not that into you. It's time to let them go. The problem is that this kind of list management can get really time intensive if it's done manually. You have to go into the tracking report of every email that you send and find the people who did not read it and track them over a 90-day or so period. Now, no one has time for that. Fortunately, you can build a system into your automation platform to do this for you with a lead score. Although sometimes complicated in its execution, lead scoring is actually a pretty basic idea at its core. Every action a contact takes is given a score. For example, reading an email is worth 1 point. Clicking on a link in an email is worth 3 points. Clicking on the register for a demo link is worth 10 points, and so on. Those scores degrade over time so that you can keep an eye on the current hot and cold leads. Someone earning 10 points by opening 1 email and clicking on 3 links today might be a valuable contact today, but if they don't do anything else for the next 6 months, then you can be pretty confident that it was just a one-off for them. Again, it's time to let them go. The great thing about this lead scoring concept, though, is that your automation system can work with it to determine who is a cold lead and ultimately who needs to be removed from your active list. You can always put them on some sort of re-engagement campaign for a couple months to see if you can revive that contact, but if they still don't care about anything that you're sending them after all that time, then you can get rid of them altogether. And all of this can be done automatically using automation tied to lead scoring. So we actually did a community table session where we really did a deep dive on email marketing and why it's important to keep a clean, high-quality list and why that's going to lead to more leads for you. And I think it's definitely something that you should check out. It's in the info card here on the screen, and it's down in the description of this video as well. Finally, let's talk about qualifying your leads. Now, there's a big difference between someone who just signs up to be on your newsletter list and someone who's ready to actually have a sales conversation with you. The difference to you might not seem huge, but there's a lot of trust that often needs to be built up by that new email subscriber before they're going to be ready to really have a sales conversation. And that trust building process can definitely take time, but again, if you can get your automated processes in place, then you don't have to think about it until the system tells you that they're ready for a phone call or whatever that next step for you is. Think about this kind of qualification process as a step-by-step thing to help actually create that trust with you. You're going to start out by asking for their email address and maybe their first name or something to get them onto your list. And it's a relatively low level of trust for you, right? It's basically telling you that you can have the most basic information that can't really be used to hurt me in any way in exchange for this thing that I want. There's not a lot of trust there. But if you show value in that initial interaction and they like what they see, then they'll be open to a bit more. So maybe you have something else of value that is also relevant to what they initially requested. Now that you have their contact information, you can send them an email offering them this second level content, if you will, but maybe they need to give you their first name, last name, email address, and company name, right? It's a bit more trust now because if I wanted to, I could get a hold of you by reaching the company, and even though you didn't give me your phone number, I could go out and find it and start actually reaching out to you. From a sales perspective, I get that, but you have to think about the user, not about the sale. Very few people make it to the sales qualified trust level if they roll their eyes and regret giving you their information in the first place. But if you keep going, you can ultimately send them even more value, and in exchange for that, maybe you ask for their phone number in addition to everything else. See, these small steps of trust that a contact takes can really be important in getting them to a point where they're willing to have an actual sales conversation with you. Again, though, this is where that automation system is going to come into play. If each step on that trust ladder requires different emails, thoughtful timing, and most importantly, consistency in execution to actually get there, then you don't want to leave it to chance. You don't want to leave it to your memory. You can build out a drip campaign, a marketing journey, or maybe even some sort of a static workflow. And again, this is all going to depend on your business model and what you really need, but it'll execute it automatically. And when they're ready for a phone call, you can get that alert automatically too. So if this all sounds interesting to you, we'd love to talk about how it can work for you. Not only can we give you the system that will manage it, we can actually help you get everything all set up. So drop down, check out the link to our demo in the description of this video, and you'll learn more. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, maybe give it a share so that others can see it too. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so that you're notified every time that we post new videos. And while you're at it, check these videos out, and we'll see you next time around. Cheers.